Sure.
All right, first and foremost, glad to have you. It's a big honor just to have you on the channel. You speaking here really means a lot. All right, so let's get started. Before we get started, congratulations on your
Thank
10K
you.
followers on Instagram. That is pretty incredible. Wow. All right, so tell us a little bit about yourself, your vision, your aims. The stage is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So my name's Aliyah. I have been on this self-taught journey for about 5 years now. Previous to that, I was in the sociology space, studying for like to be in social work, but I ended up in retail management. But along the way, I discovered Java. I had an elective course. I decided to choose it out on a whim and fell in love, but couldn't switch over. So finished up my degree, went into retail management, and then been learning on the side, and finally got the courage to leave and kind of discover freelancing on my own and segueing into the tech corporate field.
All right. All right. Wow. Wow. I
Yeah.
am really intrigued. Very insightful information there. My mind's blown. For sure.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a truly great journey, you know. Very, very interesting, great journey. All right, so I've noticed that you talk a little bit about, you talk more about self-taught coding, you know.
Yes.
I noticed that. So do you kindly care to share more, enlighten us more about the self-taught coding, and why you believe that is the best
A
route, you
self-taught
know?
route.
Yes.
Right. Because the resources that are online are incredibly vast. There is so much information. I think the biggest problem for those navigating through the space is direction and having a specific roadmap. Those kind of create barriers for people because they see kind of this huge scope and don't know kind of where's the first step, and after the first step, what's the next step. So people usually tend to go towards educational institutions and boot camps for that structure. But there, again, open source resources available that have roadmaps available now, along with Free Code Camp, which I'm a huge advocate for, and any kind of, I guess, free platform, I believe is enough to gain the skills to at least get you in the door, and then from there find, more like-minded people and those with more experience that you can learn off of.
Yes, yes, yes. Pretty true, pretty true. But I would like to also add up this. There are some people who would learn to code via projects, or should I say, start with a simple application or code up a website. What or have or have a
Yes. So
tutorial
it
to, or yeah. Oh,
sorry,
sorry.
continue.
Okay. So or have a tutorial to actually help them out in some form, you know. But the whole point is that a project-based approach. What would you like? What would you say exactly? Like a project-based learning approach to learning to
Project-based learning.
program or to learning to code.
No, there's no other way. There's absolutely no other way. Because if you only stay with auditory learning devices like tutorials or professors, anywhere where the information is getting just told to you, and there's no interactive hands-on component to it, I feel is a huge disservice to yourself and to your time, because you need to be able to implement those things that you learn to an actual project so you have something that you can pull from and experience to go through. It may be easy for your professor or, a tutorial online to install React and make an app, but,
True.
You get stuck on just the package manager, and then you're like, what do I do next? And then you kind of hit this
You don't know
wall.
what further steps to take.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And because the problem solving skills aren't developed, you look for other tutorials to kind of reassure that knowledge. And unless you find something that helps you, like, you're going to stay in this loop. So that's why it's really important for project-based programs to be made alongside your learning. And even like having an idea of what you want to create for yourself. I'll have people ask me, what's a good first program? And we'll say like in Java, and you hear things like banking apps, chat apps, anything with concurrency and threads, stuff like that. But if you don't have like a passion behind it, you're not going to finish the project, Like if it's for you, where you want to build a chat app for you and your friends,
Yes, yeah,
you
exactly.
have a lot more
Yeah.
incentive behind it to get it done and, bring it, that's your pet project, something that you care deeply about.
Right. Okay. Because this leads me to a question. Like, how would you describe the fun facts or the fun parts aspects of coding in the information technology field? What drives the force to continue
Right.
doing this? What's the biggest aspect?
Creating, it's a different kind of artistic expression. It's not so much there is a visual portion to it, especially if you're front end, then you have something visual for others. But even the back end, just having something compile and being like, yeah, it did what I told it to.
Yeah, pretty true. When the program or the compiler compiles the program and it does exactly what it's told to do,
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And like a logical creative expression, like you almost get to display your intelligence within these
I agree. I
programs
agree. Yeah.
and your logical, right? And your logical thinking skills, because, someone next to you could program the exact same thing, but in a completely different way. So I also like that it's not so rigid, like there's not just one way of doing things. There's multiple things, and you can create tools in order to help, accomplish the things that you want. And I feel like even though it's not like the whole picture seems unachievable, I like how you can break it down into small sections and still achieve kind of like the minimum of what you want to achieve and then build upon that.
All right, Leah. All right. Now this leads me into this other question. Apart from the computer-based you, what do you do? What do you do offline? Like, I mean, what do you do for fun? As a software engineer, as a full stacker, what do you do for fun? Yeah.
Oh gosh, fun.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So yeah,
Um,
so could you explain a little more about what you do on your break and how you do it?
Call of Duty,
Gosh, you're a gamer.
going on to
I
more
could tell by
machines and
the
doing a
the
lot of
headphones,
gaming. Yes,
Whoa,
yes,
that's
yes.
pretty cool. Like I would tell, like the headphones and everything. I'm like,
You
she must be
know,
a gamer. I'm sure, some Discord and gaming community and all
yeah,
that stuff.
yeah, for sure, for
My twin
sure.
brother Edwin actually just he gave me a heads
And
up. I'm
it's
like,
nice because you
yeah,
also get
she must be.
to,
Yeah,
no, I was saying I really like gaming because it's a lot of communication,
yeah, yeah. Very, very true.
especially
Very
in
true.
team-based, and team-based kind of games, like I like team deathmatch and big uh kind of collaborative team games like that. Um, I don't know. I like finding other people online.
Pretty positively extraordinary to say. That's that's very nice. We plan to have a gaming team sorted out and planned up, and I'm making sure to put you on the list
Please
for
do.
any collaboration that
Yes.
we might need. For sure. Yeah, so my twin brother has a gaming publishing company going on, and it's called Chroma Picture Technology Games, and he's planning on pushing that to the next level. And if you want to say more about switching over to imposter syndrome, I need to you to be really clear and sure, a little bit about that in the IT field. What would you say?
Yeah, imposter syndrome, I feel like never really goes away until, you have a vast amount of experience. There's this sense, again, of ownership of our code that we feel very responsible for what we're shipping out and how we ship that out. But I think relying on mentorship and those with expertise and getting advice and feedback really helps with that in any kind of facet of your journey, like whether you're in the beginning and you just want someone to look at your hello world code, like get that feedback as soon as possible and continue to do that. Sometimes when you leave it for too long and you've been kind of studying in the space for like months, you start to get shy about what you're presenting and what you're coding, and kind of keep it for yourself, but code is meant to be shared. And especially in the open source field, like you really want input and collaborative effort. So yeah, I think it's just like, again, connecting with people. And I know there's lots of introverts. Like I'm lucky enough to have a pretty outgoing personality that I've fostered through management. So it's easier for me to kind of put myself out there. But again, it's all practice. Like I wasn't this confident in the beginning. Um, and the more you do it, the more you're like, okay, this is more so a conversation than it is an assessment.
Yes, very true. I would like you to share more enlightenment on working, collaborating. I know a lot of most IT or coders are usually introverts, but when it comes to like collaborative works, like what are the biggest factors and objectives you've learned to witness and learn from during teamwork or collaboration processes on certain projects in a company or as just a normal team, you know?
I would like, yeah, yeah. I think it's about the way that things are communicated, that teamwork requires a level of respect and for each other, and to know that maybe someone's strengths are your weaknesses and vice versa, and to really play into that. Um, and I think it's hard because I feel like as developers, we're very isolated in a way.
Yes, that's literally us.
It's just kind of like us and the
Yeah,
computer, right?
very
It's us
true.
and the
Yeah,
computer, and that's our
I totally
collaborative
agree. Yes.
partner. Is
Yeah.
if visual code listens to me, then it's a good
Yeah,
day,
yeah.
kind of
More
thing.
done. That's true.
But then to disconnect from that, like um, that computer way of thinking and that logical way of thinking, and to be more people based and to have a lot of empathy, like if you lead with trying to understand versus trying to prove, I think that you get a lot more done and a
Yes,
lot
yes.
more
Yeah, true.
productivity comes out of the conversation, instead of like, yeah, you're trying to prove a point and being like, well, my way is right. It's just like, what can we do out here? The best ideas, I think, come from just spitballing and and collaborative mind maps and visual aids and all the things. And a lot of good things come from that. And if you keep it in that kind of spirit, um, more people will be willing to speak up and input their own feedback, and you can get a lot of ideas that way.
This leads me to the next question again. What are the most intriguing technologies that you're finding really mm, being really intrigued by, like technologies that you want to dive into, or technologies that you
Right.
think are not fashionable exactly, but will take over the future? What would you open up? to share some information about that.
Right now, anything, yeah, I'm looking at Web3 technologies.
All right, that's amazing.
I like to be at the forefront of things, and
I can see
I've
that. I can see that.
implemented and I've only done one thing in this space. I did a NFT contract for an NFT company that
Right?
me and my friend made together. It never went to market because we didn't have the money, but
Well,
the
I literally
learning
understand. Yeah,
process.
I do. So
No, continue.
I also had chase up a startup, Africa Sea Technology, here in Africa, Zambia,
Mm,
and our main objective was to work with AWS, the web cloud, and everything. So we were source funding with local venture capitalists here
right.
in Lusaka and the Copper Belt, to be exact. And we've actually tried our best to move to bridge the African digital gap. But to be honest, I'm really intrigued by your charisma and
Thank you. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I really like to like try things out. Like I'm the
All
one
right.
to
Yes. Yeah.
Google
Okay.
something and like I'll Google all my answers. Usually if I'm even having a conversation with someone and they ask me a question, I'm like, did you Google it? Because like I'm getting the answer from them, you know? Like
Yeah.
so
Yeah. It's really
um
important.
and then I went down like a rabbit hole. I'm like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
the
Everybody
NFT
does.
space, the
Everybody does.
blockchain
Yep. Yeah.
space. Oh, I couldn't kind of like I couldn't get out of it to be honest. So now I really want to find a space where Web3 and working with people and developer advocacy kind of cross and commingle.
All right.
Like almost like a marketplace for developers where, you know, even snippets of code will be able to be tracked in some way and, you know, recognized in some way. I just want a collaborative space where people feel like they get a return on their time, you know, because I think that there's a lot of time and effort that goes into towards developing anything. And to see that kind of over long term through Web3 is kind of like my overall goal.
All right. Okay. So what exactly would you mention with all these services and techniques? What tools or utilities could people use in order to the
Tunes?
tools utilities,
What
the working
tunes?
tools for people to use?
Got
Yes,
you.
exactly. Yes. Yes. What could they
Oh,
use?
wow.
Yeah.
There's so many. It depends though. Like if it's front end, back end, machine learning, AI, like there is a lot. I don't really have like specific ones. I kind of have them all in one space and then
All right.
reach
All
for the
right. I
ones I
see.
need. But I would recommend to not be afraid to look for the tool and create your own toolbox. So I was even with a friend going through like other websites and there's a Chrome extension called Go Full Page and it takes the whole page and you can see it on a vertical scale versus, you know, like by screen height. And he was like so surprised. He's like, what? I didn't even know this was available. I'm like, yeah, there's so much out there, you know? So I suggest looking for yourself, creating your toolbox, and then having conversations with other people around the same tool. You know, like if it's a editing tool, what does that look like? If it's a component tool, what do you use? And just get more ideas. Like be open to trying different things. Even with like certain technologies, you know, like with cloud, because I'm really into cloud right now.
Oh, exactly. I like
There's
all that, like
the top,
AWS. Yeah.
yeah, and see that's the thing. There's three top ones, AWS,
Yeah. Kind of the same. Yeah.
GCP, and Microsoft, but they're all essentially the same thing. They all have
Yeah, for
the
sure. The
same
whole like
premise
they
and the
have like
same
almost same core
core
value. Yeah.
values and infrastructure. They just have different names, right? And different services
Yes.
to do those
Yes.
things.
Yeah. That's how we
So
put it.
it's
Yeah.
more so like an umbrella. Like what cloud services can I use? What IDE can I use? What terminals can I use? What package managers can I use? And then drill it down from there.
All right, amazing. This has been a great discussion with you, Leah. We're out of time. And catch up with
No,
Leah
you're
on
good.
her social
Yeah.
links. They'll be down below the description down below. Thank you for your time. This really means a lot to us, Leah, and you're one special, extraordinary developer. And we would like to have you
Yes, I'd
back
love to
here
do this again.
again on more fun
Yes, yes,
activities
this
and
is fun.
more
Thank you so
fun
much.
facts and what we could share more, even in our future podcasts, as the time's been. So, yeah. Yeah, I was just making sure. I was just making sure. So, yeah, you
Yeah, yeah,
see, yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I was just making
Okay.
sure.